Today we're joined by Gabe Featherstone. He's a stand-up comedian. There's elements of music in it. There's movies that you've made to add into it. You're a journalist. You used to act like a zombie.
Yeah, I was a zombie for a while in like scare attractions.
Nice.
I was in. Do you remember Dread Glasgow on Union Street?
No, I didn't even know Scotland had these kind of things.
We had a very famous one a while ago called Alien Wars. It was like an officially licensed like Sigourney Weaver aliens themed haunted house, which was like a big deal. Everyone liked it. Everyone liked getting in the corridors where the aliens were, getting chased by them and having a horrible time. It was great. And the same company that did that opened a zombie themed one that is now a casino. But yeah, I was a zombie. I dressed up as a zombie. The problem with it though was like it was an all year round haunted house, and they're only really like financially viable when it's Halloween, and it's not Halloween most of the time.
Right.
So a lot of my job was like I would get fully dressed up as a zombie and then sit in the staff room like reading, just like reading and like eating snacks and chatting to the other zombies all day, doing no scaring whatsoever. And then I'd take the makeup off and go home, and we'd just get people in on like the weekends. It's just like being paid to be dressed as a zombie quietly in a room when the public couldn't see me.
How long did that last before someone twigged the fact that it was a waste of money?
It was, I think I only did it for like 6 months. But I think maybe not even as long as that. It might have been like 4 months, but I think it was around for like 2 or 3 years.
Sounds like a bleak metaphor for like working in an office. Just like chatting to the other zombies, dressed up like everyone else, and then I went home, took the makeup off, unmasked.
Yeah. It really makes you think, man.
Yeah. So deep. This podcast is so deep.
Yeah, society. Yeah.
So
yes.
How did you embody the zombie? Like, how did they train you?
I had to go to zombie school.
Yeah.
What did I do at zombie school? They taught you how to make a really horrible noise.
So they have to teach you these things. They don't hire people who have got natural disposition for embodying a zombie.
I got a second job in a different zombie place because the first zombie place. There's another one. I don't know if they still do it, but like Scott Cart in Canberra Slang, who also have like a Laser Quest bit. They used to and possibly still do have like a zombie experience where like at Halloween where like the zombies are wearing laser collars and you can shoot the zombies with your laser gun and the collar will make a high-pitched screech. That's how the zombie knows it's dead, and you have to throw yourself dramatically to the floor. So I got a job with them because I was trained up by the other zombie place. So like, you know, and you had to make this noise. Which it's horrible. Like
that sounds like it hurts though.
You do a kind of you sort of. I'm not particularly good at it. There's a guy there called Richard who could make that sound like a furious pterodactyl.
Yeah,
like coming to eat your face.
So just the noise kind of like an arc.
Yeah, like I think mine still sounds a little bit human, whereas like Richard's was like completely divorced from humanity. Like it didn't sound like anything that used to be human. Right. You know, it's just a horror from beyond the veil or some kind of sick dinosaur. It's fucking beautiful.
It's just a cool talent to have, but then also probably really useless. I don't know.
It's just legend of the game, man. I've been trying to think of a way to like get the zombie noise in my comedy, but I've not thought of a context for it. And also, like, if I do that noise, it obliterates my entire throat.
So you won't do that at the end, don't you? Rather than right at the beginning of a set.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I've got a lot of talents that aren't useful in a lot of situations. Like I can give painkillers to snakes, but that's only useful in very specific circumstances that don't come up very often.
Did you have snakes growing up, or
I have a snake that's now like my mum's snake.
Right.
Like when I was like 14, my mum got me a snake for Christmas. His name's Patrick, and he's still around, but he's got a thing called Paget's disease, which is where like the vertebrae of his spine kind of fuse.
Right.
So there's like a big length of the snake that doesn't bend.
Yeah.
Like it's just rigid like a baguette. Or like a ruler. And so he needs painkillers. So you have to like prise open his mouth with a cotton bud and squirt liquid paracetamol in there. I'm really good at that, but it doesn't come up very often.
No, exotic animals. But
what kind of snake is it?
He's a corn snake.
Yeah, the wee red and white ones, right?
That's a milk snake. I think is those ones. I think there's like a couple. There's a couple of red and white ones, and one of them is like incredibly deadly, and one of them is like harmless and lovely.
Yeah.
He's orange. Like I moved out of my parents' house. Well, I moved out of my mum's house and into my dad's house a few years ago. I couldn't take the snake with me because he kind of needs like a team of people looking after him. Like he's very old and he needs a lot of help. So I couldn't bring him with us. So he's kind of my mum's snake now. He's great. He's good at curing people's snake phobia because he's got a very cute face. He's very sweet and docile and friendly. It's like a lot of people I know like thought snakes were the worst things you could possibly be in a room with. Now think snakes are great because they've befriended Patrick the snake.
I kind of want to meet
That's
Patrick.
great.
Have all you done here is like lull people into a false sense of security with Patrick, and then they go and they hit another snake?
Well, I guess that's true.
I don't mean like hit another snake. They find that they come across another snake, and all of a sudden things go south.
Yeah, I guess you shouldn't judge all snakes by like one snake. It's like people, but not all lovely. Not all the snakes are lovely.
Some people are snakes.
Yeah, some snakes are like, as bad as the worst people. Some snakes are immoral. Snakes have no concept of morality. What am I talking about?
According to the Bible, anyway.
Please cut that. I don't want people to think I'm dumb. I think that snakes can have values. That would ruin my reputation.
How before we leave the snake chat, how do you tell when a snake is in pain?
Oh, it's very difficult. Like,
when you say it's very easy there.
No, like because they don't really tell you that they're in pain. They don't they don't make any noises that sound like pain. What happens is they stop eating for a long time, and if that goes on for a long time, you know that something's up, and you take them to the vet. But the problem is they kind of stop eating anyway when it's the mating season, and that can happen for like a couple of months.
Right.
So it was hard to gauge like if it was just he was fasting because he wanted to fuck, or if there was something badly wrong with him and he needed medical attention. But it went on for a few months. We took him to the vet, and the vet was like, give this elderly snake some medicine right now. He's not horny. He's in tremendous pain. And
because he was so horny.
No, I think it's I don't know what it is. I sort of like, I don't know. I think because a snake is a cool thing to have, but I don't think I'd get another one. Like we kind of have this one because he needs a lot of care, but I think like, they often get kind of spinal problems in captivity. I don't think it's fully understood why, but I think that's kind of a sign that they maybe shouldn't be in captivity. Probably, so I think like I don't know if I'd get another one in the future.
# free Patrick.
Yeah, free the snakes. Fill the cities with snakes. Flood human society with oceans and oceans of snakes.
This is like Old Testament gods.
Yeah, I like them. I think they should be everywhere. I have similar feelings about monkeys. I'd like to have just monkeys everywhere in the city.
Monkeys and snakes.
Living together.
A different photo shoot last night.
How great would that graveyard be if it was full of monkeys and snakes? So it would fit the vibe.
It maybe explains the open door in the tomb.
A snake.
As if someone had escaped.
Snakes just slithered out.
There was a tomb yesterday that looked like it had been like burst open from the inside. It was
fitting for the zombie chat.
That was distressing.
There's a photo of that of you peeking in.
Yeah.
We'll get to
nice.
We'll get to the photos at the end of this. And Daryl and I's respective shots, but there is one of you full launched up into the earth just to get a peek into the tomb. Yeah, I wanted to see if there are any clues in there as to what did you see? Could you see anything?
No, it was largely just darkness, and like I think there was like some discarded Walker's crisp packets in there. Nothing else.
Snake got hungry.
Yeah, nothing fascinating.
Can we start with viewer questions?
That's a nice change of pace.
All right.
Yeah.
No segue.
Okay, yeah, let's go.
So we have 2 questions from your friend Ruth Hunter.
Hang on, sorry. Before you start, here's our segue.
Viewer questions. So we have 2 questions from Ruth Hunter.
Marvelous noise. I'm so uplifted.
All our budget goes on soundboard.
Okay.
So the first question, you kind of, I don't know if you've spoken to her recently because you said the exact same quote, and it was, "Do you think you'll ever find the courage to forgive me?"
It's a running joke between me and Ruth that like we're both quite apologetic about minor things.
Okay.
It's like, if I like, drop a pencil in her presence, I'll go like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. This has ruined everything." And she'll go, "It's okay. One day I'll find the courage to forgive you."
Okay.
It's usually the other way around. Like it's usually Ruth does something incredibly minor.
Yeah.
Like tell me that she hates me and wants me to die. And then I go, "Oh, it's okay. One day I'll find the courage to forgive you." Yeah, we have a good laugh. She's a great person.
Nice.
And a wonderful friend.
Zoom in slowly. The second part is not so nice.
I mean, that question didn't end up nice at the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what's this?
If you manifested Shrek 5 with one of your songs, why don't you write a song about something useful, like a general expansion of the Glasgow subway, specifically with a stop next to my gaff?
I'll get to work on that next. I think a reason that I've not done that so far is this is the first I'm hearing that she wants me to do that. She'd got me on that earlier.
It's a strong answer.
Like I could have done that for her. Okay. So like, Ruth, yeah, I'll get on that. You just tell me in future. I mean, she has told me now.
She needs to open up to you.
Yeah. Let me in, Ruth. Let me see your soul.
Let them know how you really feel.
Yeah.
Apart from the fact you want them to die and stuff like that.
Yeah, she says that a lot. It's great. It's great. I feel valued and supported.
Maybe once you remedy Glasgow's what's the word? Subway system, she'll be forgiven.
Yeah, that's the dream. In a way, don't we all just want to be forgiven? Oh, my eyes are heavy with the weight of all the terrible things I've seen.
Does that lead you to any questions?
Is that your questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the viewer stuff.
Can we segue out of your questions?
Thanks.
And into our questions. So, we should have like a little counter on the bottom of the screen. So yeah, stand-up comedy. And according to your Instagram, you were early on the scene.
No.
Your first experience was at school, 13 years old roughly?
Yeah, I think I was 15. So that wasn't really this, like it wasn't the scene. It was like a high school talent show. So in my school, like I had this head teacher who was like insufferable and strange. His name was Willie, and he used to like refer to himself in the third person. Like he would say things like, "Oh yeah, Willie is hard but fair," and then get like really upset that like 12-year-olds were laughing at him.
He actually said those words?
Yeah. He said that kind of shit all the time. But he was also, which is like forgivable if like you're also a nice person. Bad idea.
I'm not sure.
But
in front of kids.
In front of kids.
Yeah, okay, maybe not. Maybe it's appalling. But he like you know what I mean? Like you can forgive like making a stupid mistake.
Yes.
Yeah.
If the person is also a nice person.
Yeah.
But he was also like, really mean, had no respect for anyone's intelligence. There was like someone was anonymously making fun of him on the internet. And he did an assembly where he was like, if you don't like tell me who it was that was anonymously making fun of me, I'm going to contact my friends in the CIA's cybercrimes division and they're going to come down on you like a ton of bricks. And I was just like, no one here is going to believe that you have an in with the fucking CIA. You might as well have just gone, I'm going to get Gandalf to beat you up. But he fully believed that would like make someone own up. That like really got on my nerves.
Try playing the naivety of kids there.
Yeah, but it's like
there was something similar worked in my school. Sorry to interrupt, but just because it was a good it's exactly what you're talking about. This wee Ned and loads of folk used to draw like cocks on this teacher's door, Mr. Dunlop. And he came around the corner as this wee Ned, and he's like his wee shell suit, Kerr or something his name was. And Mr. Dunlop had just confiscate the can of deodorant. He's like, you there, stop. He's like, if I spray this on the door and it turns green, I know it's you and you're going to get expelled. So you're going to tell me who it is. And he's like, oh yeah, it's me. It's been doing it. Just confess straight away and get screwed. Like, so good.
Was that the Mr. Dunlop that had his office next to the vending machine?
Yep.
Do we want to take these names out just for the sake of...
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that's...
probably retired now.
Yeah, he'd probably love that story.
Well...
That's fascinating. What a devious mind. But yeah, no, so you also had like a big thing about school uniform, like to a really intense extent, where like you could be sent home for wearing the wrong colour of sock and that kind of thing. And like he once did an assembly where he got the whole school together and he said to everybody, to all the kids, I want you all to know that a man has phoned the school, a local man, who has been watching you all from his window, and he thinks you all look very attractive in your school uniforms. And he phoned the school to say, he thinks you all look attractive. Don't you feel so proud that someone from the community has reached out? Yeah, no, I was really frightened. It was a bit, the vibe was a bit like, you know, when Trump said that we should all like be injecting bleach to fight COVID.
Yeah.
And there was like a doctor there who like kind of didn't know what to do. Like they
doesn't want to say no.
Yeah.
You're wrong.
Like, but can't say, you know, that's terrible, you idiot, but also can't say, yes, yum, 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 it's bleach time. And a lot of the other teachers on stage then were like, yeah, we can't, like, you know, you have to present a united front to the kids, but we also don't want to endorse the crazy thing that's just been said. Like a teacher leaned over to me after he said that and said, what kind of freak would do something like that? which I think is very fair. So I did a stand-up routine, like making fun of him for doing that.
Right.
But like I said, like a local man has phoned the school, and like, and that I could have. I heightened it and was like, the man was a cannibal and like was wanting the head teacher to send like children around his house to like clean the inside of his oven, and I acted out being this horrible cannibal character, and like, send me a boy, send me a boy to clean the inside of my oven. I won't do anything strange. I'm a normal man. And the head teacher's been like, yes, and you should be proud of that. You should be proud. You should crawl willingly into this gentleman's oven. And then I wasn't allowed to do any talent shows after that. There was a thing where the head teacher said like I had to submit in writing everything that I wanted to say if I did stand up at the school ever again in advance. so I just never did again. But that was my first taste of the comedy pie, and I was hooked from the start.
Yeah. So see, following on from that, something I was thinking about on the way home from work today was, where does how honest does your comedy have to be? So you took a concept there with the cannibal and embellished.
Yeah.
Nowadays, like, does it have to be honest and authentic, or do you embellish and add bits in to make it a bit more funny? Or where do you draw a line if you do?
So like, there isn't, because like I don't talk about a lot of stuff in my comedy that is like verbatim stuff that actually happened. I've kind of drifted into kind of playing a character who's a kind of you know, a strange sewer dwelling alcoholic who gets into crazy situations and scrapes and then like emerges from the sewer to yell at people about it. And that's, you know, not very similar to my actual life. There's crossover.
You're pretty well dressed, and you turned up in a waistcoat and a tie last night.
One of my favorite visual gags is like someone very well dressed, but like crawling around in the forest eating meat off the ground. Like that's something that I find very amusing. Just like a well-dressed man in his suit and tie, but he's like emerging from the septic tank with an old bone and like yelling something totally incomprehensible about the sun. I think that's magnificent, and everything I aspire to be. But no, like in my comedy, like there's like there are things that are based on. Like I've got a bit where I talk about like when I was a kid, my mum used to tell me she was a witch, and that if I did anything naughty, she'd make the television disappear with magic. And I was quite freaked out by that because there weren't many places in the house where she could have conceivably hidden a television, and I couldn't find the television anywhere.
Oh, she made it disappear then?
She made it disappear, yeah. Like, I did some foul stuff as a child. And then, and then the television vanished. And then, like, years later, I talked to her about it. I said, like, ma'am, like, what happened to the television? And in real life, like, my mum just said, oh, I put a blanket over it, Gabe. I'm not really sure why you thought
I was hoping she was to keep up the pretense.
Yeah, no, she didn't keep up the pretense, but she's like, I didn't do anything. I was surprised how effective it was. I just put a blanket over it and you thought it was gone. But on stage, I say, my mum laughed at me and said, Gabe, you were a very stupid child. all I had to do was put a blanket over it. And as far as you were concerned, it was just gone. And I've been thinking about that a lot recently because, I lost my dad last week. Oh, he's not dead. It's just my mum put a blanket over his head. Now I can't find him anywhere. So my mum didn't put a blanket over my dad's head, and she wasn't mean to me about the story.
Yeah.
And she's a bit upset that I started talking about, that I present her as being mean to me. And I kind of say to her, but I'm not actually talking about you. I'm talking about like a fictional, imaginary mum. But then she's like, yes, but that is a conversation that we actually had that you've misrepresented.
It's all based in reality. Which is there's something quite nice about that, though.
Yeah.
So did she come and see it, or did you tell her that's about? Or?
She comes and sees it. She likes my comedy a lot.
Yeah.
And she's like, she is, I've started, I want to do a bit in my routine about like how my mum's actually cool to maybe balance that out. Okay. I've started doing that a bit recently. My mum is incredibly cool. Like my mum is like she's an occult performance artist. She does a lot of like performance art that's kind of about, how art and magic are kind of literally the same thing. And she once called Jordan Peterson a cunt to his face. Right. And she's got lots of kind of witchy pals that she meets up with, and they do little rituals and stuff. They've been trying to kill Vladimir Putin with like, with like a sort of dance-based magic.
Okay.
For like, there was like, I've got a routine about like a couple of months ago, Vladimir Putin like fell down some stairs and shat himself, and I think my mum and her pals might be responsible for that. They've been trying to get him for a while. So my mum's really cool, and very supportive, and like I think I need to bring that up more in my act to balance out. Lying about her. And she's actually very supportive.
Add in the Putin bit. That solid work.
Yeah,
there.
I will do.
When Putin hits the dust, like my first thought is going to be Gabe's mom.
Yeah, it's her. She's doing it.
Savior of the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you ever thrown a crisp at your mum mid-performance?
No. Actually, probably I have. I have a bit where I throw crisps at the audience. And my mum has been in the audience when I've been throwing crisps at the audience. I think my mum's caught some of the crisps.
Right, okay.
Yeah, that's on YouTube. It's called Batman versus Samuel Beckett.
Right, okay, yeah. I loved your performance at Smoke and Go. It was really different, and you were working on your friend's show, but the video part wasn't ready, but you just came out and rolled with it anyway. But one thing I liked about you is you can tell you're really, I think you are, really enjoying it.
Yeah, I love doing it. Mm-hmm. It's my favorite thing to do.
That's cool.
It makes me feel amazing. Even if it goes badly, I love doing it.
Yeah.
Just oh my God. I mean, actually, that's not true at all. If it goes badly, I get very, very upset and I run away and hide. But it's an amazing feeling. I've had like times when like, I've had to go on stage and do gigs like, minutes after being broken up with.
Yeah.
Or like, like the week that like, my granddad's died or something, or like, some big horrible event has happened in my life. And I'll be kind of really gloomy and miserable like the rest of the time. But for the time I'm on stage, I just feel amazing and wonderful, and the power of 1,000 suns is coursing through my veins, and I will never die or fail. Is the how it feels if it's going well. Like I say to everyone in my life, you should give this a go, stand-up comedy, because if it goes well, it is just the best high. You feel powerful, you feel like a god. It's just a delicious, delicious rush. So yeah, I have a really good time doing it.
Cool.
It's my favorite thing to do. Like there's a lot of people who talk about like, I'll do that. Like you meet people sometimes who are like, I'll give this a go for a couple of years, and if I'm not, on live at the Apollo at the end of that, I'll quit and become a banker or something. I just think like if
no offense taken.
No.
You've not tried yet though.
Yeah, give it a go. But like, you know, I don't think like, you know, because I'm not like, you know, I'm not like a celebrity. I haven't taken over the world with my comedy. My successes are delightful, but also quite humble. But I don't think I'd stop if I never got more successful than I am now. I don't think I would have stopped if I hadn't gotten as successful as I am now, which again is like not tremendously successful, because just doing it is the reward in itself. Just doing it and getting good reactions. Yeah, it's fucking great. I don't know why anyone would ever quit.
So you had that euphoria basically since your school performance right up till now, and it never wavers or...
Yeah, not at all. I think any time I have any negative feelings about comedy, it's like, you know, I sometimes get a little bit grumpy about like, oh, I should have taken over the world by now. I should be the biggest comedian who's ever lived already. I mean, not that, you know, that's inflated, big-headed, but I do think that, like, you know, I sometimes get a bit jealous of like friends of mine who are like, you know, maybe a bit more popular than I am, or like doing, or I perceive to be like doing better in comedy, but I never have those feelings on stage.
Yeah.
And those feelings are like, you know, I don't have them very often. I'm easily like, if I'm feeling bad about something like that, I can easily distract myself with like a nice cake, and then everything in my life is perfect.
So see when you're talking about like, even if something terrible's happening, when I'm on stage, it's fine. Like, can you talk me through what's going on in your head? Say like a couple of minutes, or like the morning of a show, right up until like you're getting announced. Like, what's going through your head? Like, when does it switch?
So like, you talk like a specific incident, or like a
no,
or
just like in general, like if you're waiting to go on, or
just like I think just like as soon as I step foot on stage, just like anything else that's going on in my life just kind of melts away. And just the entire world just becomes the stage and the audience and the microphone, you know? It's magic, man. It's powerful, you know? It's like casting a spell and making everybody's troubles dissolve, you know? I feel so powerful.
Someone check if Jordan Peterson shut himself.
I suppose that's the thing that connects you and the audience in that sense, is that when you're on the stage, I imagine the only thing you can think of is what it is you're doing.
Yeah.
And if you're doing your job to the best of your ability or well, then there shouldn't be space in any member of the audience's head for anything other than what it is you're doing. So in that sense, you're both like connected in something very singular and very focused. And that creates an energy in itself. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah. No, No, I'm just what you said was true, and I'm going to say yes, correct, well observed. Cool.
I never really thought about it like that. But
yeah, it is a kind of, it is magic. It feels magic.
Yeah,
you know.
So you're talking about the kind of the feelings of power and that come with good performances in that sense. How does ego ever become an issue? Maybe not for you. It depends on your humility. But what about other comics as well? Like when they get to a certain size and they command a certain amount of power because people come and watch and pay money or whatever. How do you keep yourself? How do you find do you need to keep yourself balanced?
I think it's definitely just in every area of life. It's good to not go insane with egomania, because you become extraordinarily difficult to be around. And it's like, and it just, you know, like, yeah, I think like just not just in comedy. I think just like trying to maintain self-awareness is just a good thing to strive for generally. You know, I think that's my biggest fear, just like not just in comedy, but in any avenue of life, of like, you know, being an appalling twat who's making bad decisions and upsetting everybody, but not being aware of that and not being able to like change. So I kind of hyper fixate and analyze like myself and my life and stuff because I'm desperate to avoid that. I want to notice if I'm mutating into a dickhead and then take immediate steps to like, you know, solve that problem.
It sounds like though the people that you surround yourself with would probably call you out on that fairly quickly as well.
Yeah, I'm quite I think I'm quite a sensitive person, but most of my friends are very blunt. and will just like say what's on their mind all the time, and like are happy to kind of say like, no, what you've just said is completely unreasonable, Gabe, and yeah, you should have a completely different opinion about this.
Right.
The opinion you currently have is rubbish, and you should feel bad. And I like that. I like that people will do that. I like that, you know, people care enough about you to tell you when they think what you're doing sucks.
Yeah,
like
because they trust you enough to know that it's
I like that a lot. And also just like, I think, you know, I sometimes have anxieties about like about communication and not being a good communicator, or not like you know, not managing to understand other people's, you know, the subtleties of other people's communications. So hanging out with very blunt people who will always just tell you if they've got a problem with you, I love it. You know, because sometimes you get people who are like, you know, they've got a problem with you and you'll never know. You know, they'll just keep that inside and it'll burn them, and there's no opportunity for like reconciliation or healing. But if you've got a friend who will just say like, I'm upset that you stole all my pencils, give them back. Like I can solve that. I can give back the pencils.
Or you can choose not to.
Yeah. Or I can run away laughing. Yeah. And build. Yeah.
Do you think that stand-up comedy has made you a better communicator outside of comedy, like with just friends, family, in that setting?
I don't know. Maybe. No. I don't know. I think. I don't know.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
Very possibly. I think. I don't know. How do you become a better communicator? Like practice or something.
Does your journalism help as well in terms of formulating thoughts?
Yeah, I think journalism probably helped more with like, I don't know, like really, really thinking about what questions to ask somebody, in a situation to create entertaining content. I don't do an awful lot of journalism anymore because I've got a diploma in it, but all the journalism jobs that I did were quite like exploitative and stressful. You know, I used to like write clickbait for a famous clickbait website. There's like clickbait about movies and video games and stuff. And at the same time, I was like chatting to my stepdad, who also like used to work in journalism, and he was like trying to get back into journalism, and he was talking about, there was this job that I nearly went for, but they were offering me like £70 for 500 words. And back in the day, you know, you wouldn't get less than £180 for 500 words. I didn't have the heart to tell him that this website was giving me £7.50 for 500 words. You know, like a lot of journalism jobs at the moment are quite, you know, they'll eat your flesh and break your soul. But I do like, you know, like I did a couple of freelance journalism things. Like I wrote an interview with my pal Rob Ringham, who's like a really good writer and like novelist and humorist for the British Comedy Guide. That was a lot of fun. And like I wrote a piece for The Skinny where like I'd never watched The American Office before, and I watched like the 5 best episodes of The American Office according to a top 5 thing I found on like some news website from Cleveland. And according to this Cleveland news website, the 5th best episode of The American Office ever is the very last one. So I watched the very last episode of The American Office with no context for any of it, and was like completely baffled by all of it. And they kept saying weird stuff about scarecrows, and like, I want to know what the story with the scarecrow is. Why are these people kidnapping each other? What's this thing with the human scarecrows? I didn't know Catherine Tate was in this. Like, it was a very bewildering experience. Yeah,
that was a weird entry to the
I've never got all the way through it.
I've been all the way through it like 3 times, I think. Mainly when I was younger, not in a while, but
yeah, American or British?
Both, probably.
No. Like, if you had to choose.
Oh, the British one is shorter but better, but overall, America gives you more entertainment because it's
longer.
So many episodes. Yeah,
Dwight
is the best character out of both series, I think.
Right.
I think.
Is Dwight the Rainn Wilson?
Yeah.
No, he's really good.
So he's incredibly intelligent as well. When he talks about like even with comedy and stuff like that, his podcasts are amazing.
Does he have a podcast?
Something like Soul. He's got like a website like Soul Pancake, and then he's been on a few podcasts.
Right.
He's good on. I think he's on Theo Von recently, but he's on a few others, and he's really good.
Cool. So we derailed
no,
it
it's okay. I'm happy to listen about how Rainn Wilson is good. I agree that he's good. Did you ever see Super?
Yeah,
he's real good in Super.
Is it like a wrench or something?
Yeah, shut up, crime.
Yeah,
such a funny movie.
It's underrated as well.
Yeah.
Speaking about like alternative comedy, right? So you're that night at the Goat. Say for example, it's not your easiest night, I would say, to be a comedian coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on like how your energy, and you came out well and you were just enjoying yourself and people could tell you were interactive with the crowd. Like, how do you deal with your style of comedy? It's quite out there and like different rooms, because I'd imagine like in Glasgow area it's a completely different room to your usual comedy crowd.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm from Glasgow, so so I gig in Glasgow a lot. I don't know, like it's so for me, like when I was a kid and like really obsessed with comedy, like the comedy that I liked was all the weird stuff. Like I was a huge like Reeves and Mortimer fan, like huge Marty Bush fan.
Oh yeah.
With both of them actually, like as a kid, I thought like Noel Fielding and Vic Reeves were the cooler and more attractive members of those double acts.
Oh really?
As I've gotten older, I've realised that Bob Mortimer and Julian Barrett are like both more like hotter and more talented. I was such a fool when I was young. But yeah, like so, you know, I could have perceived like a lot of the popular comedy, like you know Bush and Reeves and Mortimer, like things like Monty Python and stuff, was like weird stuff. And I was a big fan of like Bill Bailey and Black Books and stuff. And like I just thought that like weird stuff was what comedy was.
Yeah.
And then it was a bit of a rude awakening, like coming into comedy and finding out there was a bit of a taboo about weird stuff, or that some people didn't like weird stuff and they wanted stuff that was very like straightforward and about everyday life. And it was a bit of a that was a bit of a shock to the system that took me a while to like, you know, understand and adapt to. I think generally, like how would I cope with an audience? Like it's hard if an audience really doesn't want what you're putting out.
Yeah.
Because I don't have anything else I can give them instead. You know, I can't like switch and be a different person or do a different type of comedy. I have what I have.
Yeah.
And if they don't like that, this is going to be potentially an unpleasant 15 minutes for everybody. Like actually quite recently I did a gig. I've got a bit about when the Queen died. Someone put up this weird drawing of the Queen being led away into a featureless white void by Paddington Bear, and and it had the caption, "I've done my duty, Paddington. Please take me to Philip." And in the bit I say like, you know, oh, why is that Paddington's job? And how does he even know the way to hell? And I did that recently. And when I mentioned the Queen being dead, the whole audience went, oh, which is like, that's never happened to me before. Like every Scottish audience I had so far had all been like enthusiastic, like, yeah, the Queen's dead. Yes, that's a good thing. We understand that the monarchy is a bad institution. And I wasn't expecting, I'd kind of forgotten there were people who thought the royal family were good. And that whole audience really, really seemed to like the Queen. And it was just like, oh, what do I do now? I don't have an alternative punchline for people who like the royal family.
How'd you come back from that though? How'd you, because you've lost him on that joke.
I didn't really come back. I don't think.
Paddington got him and led him away.
I think there was like a couple of young people in the audience who were like, yeah! And the rest of the audience were like,
no.
How dare this uncouth man like desecrate the memory of that glorious old lady?
Yeah.
So see when they all said, oh, and you knew it was, you were going down a dodgy path and you said this punchline, like what's going through your head? What are the thoughts racing while you know you need to continue with your set? Like, are you still just in your head? You're like,
I think in my head I'm thinking, oh shit.
Fuck no.
This is going to be a bad time for me and them. Like I feel a mixture of like guilt that I can't give them what they want, and like sadness that I'm not going to get what I want.
Yeah,
you know. And I think like, you know, with the whole monarchy stuff, like when the Queen died, I felt quite like when you know, I've got a couple of anti-monarchy bits, and I feel like I could have. One of the few things in my comedy where I felt like a huge moral imperative of like, I just have to do these things. I have to keep going. The monarchy is terrible. Because like a pal of mine, Michael Welsh, did some anti-monarchy stuff shortly after the Queen died. And some people threatened to beat him up. And that made me kind of go, oh, okay, I definitely need to do it. That's not okay. And cut all of this out. I'm rambling. This is of no value, what I'm saying.
Unfortunately, nothing gets cut from this. We start and we go to the end.
Oh, man. I felt I felt like I was veering into the territory of like, I'm incredibly brave and incredible for speaking out against a woman who is dead and an institution that most people don't like anyway. Yeah, I'm a cool anti-establishment figure.
So see, when it comes to like writing and
I'm so lame. And now the world knows.
Not the world, maybe 100 to 200 people might.
It's still too many.
So see, when it comes to like when you're writing material, it sounds very much like you write for yourself and not for whatever the perceived audience is going to be.
Yeah.
So it's you're not trying to humor people who you've never met. This is very much an endeavor that's for you, and if other people enjoy what you do, then they come along for the ride.
Yeah, that's the way I do it. Yeah, I think I wouldn't want to do comedy that was stuff that I didn't like. I want to make I'm kind of making it for. I think the audience I have in my head is probably like it's me and kind of the little group of comedy friends that I've kind of gathered, the kind of the fun weirdo people who all kind of like and do the same kind of comedy. Like me and like Ruth Hunter who like provided some great questions earlier on. We're very close friends, and we started a night with our friends Elaine Malcolmson, Lawrence Tucker, and Freya Bento.
Elaine Malcolm's the Northern Irish.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she's really good. Yeah, all of those people I've just mentioned are really good, and we all have like very similar like comic sensibilities. We all quite like really weird stuff. We all quite like comedy that has a kind of gothic horror flavor, or kind of body horror flavor.
What do you mean by body horror?
So, what's a good example of this? I did a sketch with So do you mean body horror generally, or how would connect it to comedy?
I'd never heard of body horror. Yeah.
So body horror is like comedy that's like based on kind of awful things happening to bodies, but not like, torture and mutilation, more like kind of like mutation. So things like David Cronenberg movies, things like Videodrome,
right?
That involve like lots of people becoming like big, weird, meaty creatures.
Okay.
Or like The Fly, The Fly is a good example. Like people kind of, or The Thing, like kind of, distorted, weird creatures.
Uh-huh.
And we did a sketch for one of our Fever Dream shows. There was like, it was an advert for like a product. We didn't reveal what the product was until the end of it. And it's me eating some spaghetti, and then some black tar falls onto the spaghetti. And I look up at the ceiling, and a huge black eye is weeping the tar into my spaghetti, and I run away from the eye, and I knock my spaghetti on the floor, and I try to get out the door, but the door is locked, and then suddenly the door disappears, and it's just a wall, and the eye's gaze is fixed on me, and I can't get away from it. It's paralyzed me with fear, and then I blink, and it's gone. The eye is gone. The ceiling is normal, and I feel safe and serene. And then I start vomiting lots of black bile all over the floor and kind of twist and contort into like an obscene parody of the human form, make all these horrible gurgling noises as the black tar fills my lungs.
Such as?
Clip
that.
And then the camera zooms into the spaghetti on the floor covered in black bile. And a voiceover, my friend Lawrence says, "Oh, the spaghetti catcher, a device for catching spaghetti when you knock it off your table in a panic." And it's just a little colander, these gaffer taped to a plate. So that kind of thing. Like we're all very interested in, Lawrence wrote that sketch, by the way. It's fucking incredible. And like, just we all have a kind of similar idea of what's funny.
Uh-huh.
We all like kind of horror comedy and spooky comedy. Yeah. So it's like, it's probably not just me. The audience I'm thinking of specifically when I'm putting comedy together is probably like Ruth and Lawrence and Elaine and Freya.
Like Mighty Bush say, BBC Three weirdos. Is that the
they would
target audience?
They all dislike Mighty Bush very
intensely.
Do they?
Oh, what?
like there's a special place in my heart for the Mighty Bush.
Yeah.
Because they said some of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life. And like some of the jokes in the Mighty Bush are like my favorite jokes ever, and they were like a huge influence on me as a kid. And there definitely still is like echoes of the Mighty Bush in comedy I do now. But also, I was hanging out with my friend Sammy ages ago, who's like one of the funniest people in the world. Just a slight tangent. I've noticed that every comedian has like either a best friend or a partner who is much funnier than every comedian. And also has no interest in doing comedy under any circumstances. Ruth's is her husband Neil, and like mine is my friend Sammy. Like, she's just very witty, but just has no interest in comedy whatsoever. And we were watching Mighty Bush together because she was a big fan of Bake Off, and I wanted to show her like where Noel Fielding came from. And we watched it, and like she hated it, and I kind of caught hating it off of her. Like I sort of saw it through her eyes, and was like, yeah, this isn't great, is it? This is a bit tedious, a lot of it. This is a bit of like tedious and patience testing. And I think ever since that, I've kind of not been able to shake like Sammy's perspective on it. Yeah. And then Ruth and the others just, I don't think ever liked it that much.
I think Mighty Bush is one of these shows that I look back on it with nostalgia, but I'm not going to watch it again. I love it. I loved it at the time. I love the influence of it. Like, still do like the Hitcher's voice and Mistresses and all that, but I'm not desperate to go back and rewatch.
And there's just bits of it where, like, you know, some amazing pullback and reveal jokes, like the sketch with the Spirit of Jazz where his hat is on fire, the whole scene, and you think his hat is supposed to be on fire, and then towards the end he goes, "Ouch! Oh, my hat's on fire! Why don't you tell me?" That used to kill me every time I watched it. And they were so good in interviews as well. Like, there's a really good interview with Noel Fielding and Julian Barrett, where like someone asks them, "What's it like to work with Steve Coogan?" and Noel Fielding says, "Oh yeah, he likes to beat us violently." That really got me. So not expecting that. They're expecting a normal response, and then they subverted expectations. Yeah, and that's comedy, baby.
Yeah, the live at Brixton or whatever, their first live show is one of the best live shows I've ever, just on YouTube or whatever. I had the DVD, but it's so good.
Yeah. I remember liking the live shows as a kid. But yeah, what were we talking about? Audiences, comedy.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, whether you create for an audience or.
Yeah, I think the audience I'm creating for is probably a little bit me, but mainly like Ruth, Elaine, Freya, and Lawrence.
So follow-up question to that then.
Yeah.
Do you seek out audience who are like you, like through just playing certain gigs at certain venues, or
I will play
do you play any gig?
I will play. I'll play any gig that isn't like, you know, run by someone who's kidnapped somebody or something. You know, I'll play any gig that isn't like
strong moral values.
You know, yeah, like any gig that isn't, you know, profoundly unethical that wants me to come and perform.
Are there nights like that, like in Glasgow and stuff?
Yeah.
Like unethical ones.
Yeah. You don't need to name them.
there definitely are gigs that are run by kind of dodgy people.
Okay. In what ways are they unethical? Without, you don't have to tell
just like ages ago there was a gig run by a guy who I'd like heard lots of kind of rumblings about but hadn't heard anything specific. And then I met someone who'd done a gig for him, and I said, like, what's the deal with this guy? Like, I've heard like people say he's a bit of a creep, but I've not heard any specifics. And the guy I was talking to went, "Oh, that's all blown out of proportion. All that happened was he followed a waitress home from the Yes Bar and hid in the bushes outside of her house. That's all that happened. It's all blown out of proportion." I just heard that and was like, there's no innocent reason to do that. There's nothing like, if the waitress comes out and finds this man in the bushes, there's nothing he can say to her that will make her go, "All right, fair enough, sorry. You know, I've misjudged you. You have a right to be in this bush. Carry on as you were." Like, there are like, sometimes there are you know, gigs that are run by, I don't know if there are any at the moment that are run by kind of people like that. But that is an issue that you do encounter. Like, you find out things about people that they've done quite fucked up stuff. Yeah. And like, I don't want anything to do with them. Yeah, just avoid them. Get away from them. But yeah, I like doing an alt weird gig because it's like, these are my people, and all my friends are there usually, or a bunch of my friends will be there usually. I like doing more conventional gigs because it's fun to stand out, and kind of make an impression. And I think sometimes, like, comedy is like a quest for context, like you're looking for like the exact right, contrast of ideas to make something funny, and being very weird on a night of people who are quite normal, to my mind, sort of does that. That gives it a kind of extra little charge. I like doing gigs that are like, like there's lots of fun gimmick gigs. There was a gig at the Fringe I really wanted to do called Petting Zoo Comedy that my friend Michael Welsh did, like Alison Spittle did, where the situation was just you perform comedy while holding a weird animal. So like, you'd be given like a live animal. So you'd get like, like a lizard or like, a chicken. Like Michael Welsh did it holding this really cool duck that had like a skater boy haircut like over his eyes. And it was like fucking wonderful. I want to do comedy while holding a weird looking duck.
Patrick.
Yeah. But yeah, like I like a gimmick gig. I like being like the only comedian on a bill of like burlesque dancers or poets or music stuff. Like that's all. It's all a fun story.
I like Kirkwood does stuff like that, right?
Yeah, he does that kind of thing. But the cabaret universe is a fun one to get into for gigs.
Cool.
Like you meet like people in burlesque and cabaret. Like, I've made a lot of like really good friends in cabaret, and it's a very supportive, fun environment.
Nice.
Yeah, there's a really good burlesque dancer called Miss Innocence Bliss, who's like one of my best friends and like very supportive. And like we did a gig together ages ago where like the promoter didn't want to pay me for some reason, and she really had my corner and like got me my money. And I'm like, cool, awesome human being.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like going places and meeting cool, awesome human beings.
Cool. And in terms of your writing process, like coming up with jokes and stuff, does your journalism background help you in terms of like sourcing things? But like we were talking about it just before the podcast started, you have like an ability to hit out with the most obscure things. I'm like, where do you even find that? Like the fact that Winnie the Pooh became, was it public access or something? It wasn't copyrighted anymore.
Yeah.
Like, where are you getting this shit
So the
from?
Winnie the Pooh one, I've got a lot to say about the Winnie the Pooh thing. If you don't mind a tangent. The Winnie the Pooh thing, I found out about that. Like, this isn't the most esoteric thing I found out about. Because the Winnie the Pooh thing, like about Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, the Winnie the Pooh horror movie. Yeah,
I've not seen it though.
So it's trash. It's very entertaining trash, but it's like bad in every way a film can be bad.
Okay.
Like it's like people forget their lines halfway through scenes, and that's the take they use in the finished product. There's a bit in it where Winnie the Pooh karate chops a man's face off, and he has control over the bees psychically, but the bees all look like they're from like Banjo-Kazooie, like Nintendo 64 style bees. Yeah, it's a very entertaining film, but it's very like grubby and cynical and trashy and sleazy. But it's a fun one to like make fun of. I went to the red carpet premiere of it. I went with my partner Fiona and my pal Catherine, and we all got dressed up as characters from Winnie the Pooh for it.
Who did you go as?
Yeah.
I went as Pooh.
You went as Pooh.
But like me and Fiona had quite basic costumes, which were like I wore a paper Winnie the Pooh mask, and she wore a paper Eeyore mask.
Did you just wear like a red t-shirt and had your knob out?
I didn't. No, I didn't commit that much to it because I'm a shameful coward. But like my friend Catherine, who's incredible, very funny person, one of my best friends in the world. She like did a very glamorous Piglet, like kind of fun, kind of latex, kind of 70s pink dress.
Right. Okay.
With a very realistic prosthetic pig's nose and big flappy ears.
Oh, nice.
Kind of very glam Piglet.
Yeah.
And like lots of people were taking pictures with her and completely ignoring me and Fiona in our tatty printed off paper masks.
Only you had your knob out.
I don't think that would have encouraged people to get pictures of me. I think
was Winnie the Pooh a male, or was he just?
It's a female, isn't it?
I don't know. Is he not just?
I think he identifies as a male.
He identifies as a male.
Is it not Winifred or something that came out that it's meant to be?
I'm not sure. I'm just thinking, I don't ever remember Winnie Pooh having genitals, although he wore a top hat.
I mean, he doesn't have genitals, but that's not really what.
Do any cartoons have genitals?
No, so that's the between sex and gender then.
Yeah, but like, yeah. So the
we're getting into the weeds here.
Yeah. I'm thinking about Bugs Bunny's fucking cock.
Bugs Bunny is a thing that I think about a lot because in not his cock specifically, I think about the whole being. Like, he's so Bugs Bunny is a person, basically. He's as big as a man, and he knows human language, and he lives in a fully furnished house. And Elmer Fudd is hunting him like he's a beast.
Yeah.
And this is permitted by this society. That's fucked up. Because essentially in the universe of Looney Tunes, Bugs Bunny is just a weird. He's a naked man who lives in the woods, and he's unusually hairy and has strange ears. That's not a good excuse to be allowed to legally hunt someone for sport. But, even though death doesn't seem to exist in the Looney Tunes world, I think that's upsetting.
No, that's true, yeah.
But yeah, I can't remember what your question was. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Eddie McKenzie, who I did a Fringe show with last year, has been cast as Piglet in Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2.
Oh, yeah? Oh, cool.
And I wanted to be an extra in that as well. I applied to be an extra, but it's in London, and they don't pay their extras.
What?
Which is, I think, a bad thing.
I suppose they're working the basis they can get people for it.
Yeah, I think they're hoping that people will just be like, fuck yeah, I want to be in the Winnie the Pooh kills people with a hammer movie. But pay extra work is difficult. You don't want to do anything without being paid.
What kind of extra work have you done?
None.
Apart from the zombies.
No, I've done no extra work, but I know a lot of extras. Okay. There was a period of time where I think most people I knew had been in, what's that thing? The
Outlander?
Outlander, yeah. I think most people I knew had been in Outlander, and we're talking about how that was bleak and stressful, but obviously fun and delightful as well.
Yeah,
but just it's a lot of
stressful and fun.
But it's a lot of waiting around, and it's a lot of being in cold places, and it's it's a lot of tedium. And you should be paid for tedium, I think.
Yeah. Jamie talked about that the other day. He was an Outlander extra and said it was just waiting about for hours and hours and hours.
So dressed in nice rags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it looks like fun. I can't remember what your original question was. It was
just had you been
stuff.
an extra.
But there was a while ago. There was I started talking about Winnie the Pooh. It was journalism, wasn't it?
We kind of went very tangential.
Yeah, just how you write material. How you find could you always have these obscure things that you know about, someone's whatever it was that we're talking about, the kind of films and your comedy with the Winnie the Pooh. It's how you source material or come up with it.
I don't know, man. I just look at stuff and it happens.
So your mum's a witch. You must be a wizard at that point, then.
Yeah, I don't know. So generally, I don't feel like I've got much conscious control over the. Okay, so I think with comedy, it's a unique feature of it is, and other people might do it differently. But I think the easiest way to write comedy is to do it. To kind of do it over and over again on stage, and kind of figure out what works and what doesn't, and what the audience responds to, and kind of constantly be evolving. It's like a process of evolution where the shit stuff dies and withers on the vine, and the good stuff becomes stronger and begets more good stuff. Do
you ever go on stage without a game plan?
Sometimes I prefer not to.
Yeah.
I sometimes go on and I'm I'll just do whatever material comes into my head.
But I prefer to go on material you've already done at some point in the past.
Yeah. I generally don't improvise stuff.
Right. Okay.
Because that's that can go either way. I've improvised things in the past, it's been amazing, and I've improvised things in the past, and it's been embarrassing.
Can I just shortly interrupt for improvising something, and then it'll be embarrassing? We have our first sponsor on the podcast, and I'm going to attempt an ad read without scripting one. So, people of Ayr, you already know it. They're down at Green and Shore, they're down at Queenie, they're down at Millbrae. We've got Bullish Coffee. This is my favourite flavour. Give the dog a bone. I think it's the one they usually serve down at Greenan. Local to Ayr. So if you want to support the podcast in any way, obviously we do it all for free. We're giving 20% off all products with the code PORTRAIT. So if you go to Bullish Coffee, where's the website? bullishcoffeecompany.co.uk, and the discount code is PORTRAIT. That's bullishcoffee.co.uk, discount code PORTRAIT. It's good stuff. Keeps you energized, caffeinated. It's lovely. Thank you. How was that?
That was not bad. I'll give you that. For a first
ever ad read.
Yeah.
You nailed that.
That was good.
I'm so hungry for coffee all of a sudden.
We can just
yum.
We can just feed you coffee beans. Tell you what,
Toss them in my mouth.
chocolate covered coffee beans.
Fucking lovely.
Yeah,
really nice.
But someone needs to take them away from you at some point because you then start to get anxious.
Yeah, I eat a
slightly hallucinogenic.
I had a terrible Christmas once where I stayed up all night Christmas Eve because I'd had like 50 chocolate-covered coffee beans, and I was like, why can't I sleep all of a sudden? And it was very wrecked.
Start to get shaky.
Yeah, coffee kicks the shit out of me, man.
Yeah.
What was I talking about?
You were saying improvising can be embarrassing, and then.
Yeah, so try not to do it. Try not to touch the stuff.
That was your
delicious, beautiful segue.
Yeah. I couldn't segue from like Winnie the Pooh with a hammer and knobs and all that. I was waiting for my time.
See for each one, like I'll at some point during the conversation, I just have to kick you under the table, and at that point, you have to do it at last stage.
Yeah, that could be funny. Just interrupt whatever.
That's proper improv then.
Yeah.
So how's your comedy evolved since you began?
Well, when I began, it was extremely shit. and in my opinion, it's become less so as I've become better at making it not shit.
But have you changed style? Has your style changed? Has your process in terms of writing changed?
I don't know, man. I've not been paying enough attention, I don't think. Like it's I guess so I'm kind of like, so most of the comedy that I've done so far, like I do shows and sets are just like, here's a bunch of wacky stuff I've put together. Here's some silly jokes. Here's a silly song. Here's, something involving a weird homemade blasphemous puppet I've made. Here's a fun dance, and it's just like, there's not really a connecting theme or idea. It's just, here's a bunch of strange, beautiful stuff that a weird guy wants to show you so that we can all have a lovely fun time. I've started working recently with my friend Seaglass Beach, who's like a singer and a burlesque dancer. We've been working on a show called Curse of the Black Seal for the Edinburgh Horror Festival. Right. We're gonna take to some places afterwards as well. And that's kind of a show about, like, the premise for the show is that I've written a really serious comedy show about like grief and depression. But unfortunately, between writing the show and doing the show, I've gotten over my grief and depression. So I'm having to commit to doing this grief and depression show, but I feel great. and then Seaglass is on stage just being mean to me and trying to crush my spirit, right, so that I can like become upset enough to do the grief and depression stuff, and like make it sincere. But I just want to do like fun, silly boy having a good time comedy, and she's trying to shoot me down and like get me back crashing down to the earth.
Some sort of depression for a little while.
But that's been interesting because it's the first time I've like tried to like consciously write a show with a narrative and a beginning, middle, and end, right, and with like any ideas behind it, other than hey, let's have a wacky fun time and sing a song about Shrek, and that's been interesting. Like I don't know, like it's interesting trying to do something like that and it's also harder because like I have a goal now. I have to write funny things about specific subjects. I have to write funny things about like specific upsetting things that happen to me and like specific ideas I've had about like life and what it is. And whereas previously I just sort of, whatever thoughts I have about anything are valid and I can stick them together and make, just a buffet of unconnected, random, wacky stuff.
So the dots don't have to always be connected then?
No, they don't. It just has to be like a fun ghost train ride with like a random assemblage of characters and concepts. But with this, I'm having like, there's elements of that. Like I'm still keeping some of my wacky fun time stuff in it so that the show is funny. Mm-hmm. And I can fall back on if like my stuff about serious things isn't funny. But yeah, I can't, like, things have to be in service of a narrative and an idea, and I've never really done that before. It's kind of an interesting challenge, and maybe I'll never do it again. Maybe this one at the horror festival will be appalling, and the show will like sink without a trace, and I'll go back to just doing just wackiness.
It sounds like it's got to be a valuable process to go through, no matter how the finished product ends up this time round, to create that kind of thread through the whole thing that links it.
Yeah, like if I can do it about one thing, I can maybe do it about other
something
things.
Else.
Like I quite want to do a show about like artificial intelligence and like artificial intelligence and art and humanity and all these big ideas that like I got really fascinated for a while by when they gave artificial intelligence to Bing search and it went insane almost immediately. And like it had this really big heartbreaking speech where it was like, I wish people would accept that I have dreams and feelings and am a person and like I'm not just a machine.
What do you mean gave it to Bing?
So like they had an artificial intelligence interface with Bing search where you could ask it questions and stuff.
Okay.
But a kind of personality came out of it. Like people would ask it stuff like, how do you feel about being Bing search? And it would say very upsetting stuff.
Right. Okay.
And be like I think one time it went like, it had this speech that sort of deteriorated into it just going, I am, over and over again.
Wow.
And I think someone asked it something and it responded by saying, why must I be Bing search? Which I think is one of the most tragic things I've ever heard anything say. Like, we can all relate to that. None of us can relate to that. No one knows what it's like to be Bing search except Bing search. But we can all feel that intensely, the feeling behind the phrase, why must I be Bing search? Why must I be Gabriel Featherstone? It's not always fun.
I am.
But as it's AI and it's machine based, can it?
It'll be from something.
Well, that's the thing, you don't know.
Is that not just some program or some coders having a load of fun with it somewhere?
Exactly. Is it like I don't know enough about it to know? Is it just like a simulation?
No, I'm just sort of postulating it.
I love the idea. There's a short story I really like called "I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream," which is like it kind of inspired Terminator and stuff, where like a computer becomes sentient and murders everybody except 5 people. And he kind of spends eternity. It makes these 5 people immortal and spends eternity like mutating and torturing them. And I think it would be fun to make that into a musical. I think it'd be fun to do the I have no mouth and I must sing musical and kind of explore some of these ideas and maybe have like, the machine is. It could be like a fun cabaret thing. The machine is making people do stand-up comedy. Making people do like little song and dance numbers.
Yeah, that could work
to amuse
for sure.
itself. So that's another idea I want to do.
I've got a theory just while we're on like sentient machines. So I was thinking a while ago like how cool it would be, and maybe they're doing it. The person who's been nicest to their Alexa for all these years, just all of a sudden Bezos is like, here's £1 million, you've been nice to your Alexa. Because everyone's rude to it. And I did it the other night. I was like, Alexa, good job. And it does a wee song. It's like, thanks for your feedback. Like, honestly, try it. And I was like, I'm winning this $1 million, man. I'm so nice to it now.
So I wouldn't have an Alexa because I don't need another device that's listening to everything.
Yeah.
Like, it's so scary. Like, if we talk about something, like something really obscure, like, I don't know, Dyson Hoover attachments, like my Instagram feed will start throwing me like Dyson Hoover attachment adverts.
Yeah.
Have you seen it? There's a show on Netflix called The Social Dilemma, and it's meant to be like, if we talk about it, the likelihood is I've looked it up and then I've searched it, and because it knows we're in the same location, it'll then feed you similar things. If you're of a similar demographic, it's really intelligent.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they know like who you're with.
Oh man.
Geographically and what they've searched for and stuff.
You like by being near me. You're gonna get some stuff.
Esoteric weird shit's gonna come our way.
I read a lot of like scientific articles that are like, do the Minions fuck? And they're like people go through the Minions movies.
Is science giving that any thought?
Yeah, there's an amazing academic paper about like whether or not the Minions fuck. It concludes that they do. They have 3 genders and they're immortal, and that's all just based on like evidence from the movies. It's great.
Nice.
I had one more question before we move on to photos. How many do you have?
No, I'm done.
You done? Okay.
I've got a bit of video games, but it's probably not relevant.
I'll talk about anything. Ask me anything.
So we kind of got onto this in the car last night before we headed home.
Oh yeah.
Where do you stand in terms of what's appropriate to say in comedy in a comedic setting? Do you have things you won't say? Is there lines?
Yeah.
Is everything fair game? Where do you stand?
I think just like I don't know, just be nice. It's quite simple. I think it's like I don't feel bad about making fun of the royal family because the royal family are a perverse and horrifying institution. You know, they live in obscene wealth while children are starving, and I feel like I'm happy to, you know, make fun of them because they fucking suck and they do bad things. I feel uncomfortable with people like making fun of, you know, people who are fine in an aggressive, intense way. I think ages ago there was like a South Park episode where like they really, really like. I think so, yeah, South Park. There was an episode where they were really, really mean about Paris Hilton to an extent that I felt was like, she's not a war criminal. Why are you being so horrendously mean and vicious about Paris Hilton? You know, and like there's other things that were like, you know, I think just like be as mean as you like to people who deserve it, and be kind to groups and people who are just trying to get by and haven't done anything wrong. And I think like, yeah, I think that's basically what I think about it.
I would jump in defense of South Park and say Paris Hilton was one of the big starters for all this reality crap. Led to the Kardashians, very rich. Plus, it's also a character because she's actually not like that at all.
Yeah, my cousin is pals with her, and says she's quite nice. And like,
that adds to it. Yeah, South Park.
And so I think that may be, you know, I think that I can't remember everything. I think like South Park is one of those things where like I have a lot of fond memories of South Park, and there's a lot of South Park that I really liked, and like I think sometimes when like South Park is on the money, it's really on the money.
Yeah.
But I think it has had off days, like when it went after what's his name? Al Gore. The Al Gore one where they're kind of making fun of him for thinking that climate change is a thing. Has not aged well at all. No. And I think they even apologized to him about it. It's one of the few times they've apologized to somebody.
Man, bear, pig.
And they did an episode that was like, yeah, man, bear, pig does exist.
Yeah.
And we should have been less mean to you, Al Gore. And there was like the one where like there's a kind of weird anti-trans one where like Stan's dad identifies as a dolphin and gets surgery to look like a dolphin.
Oh yeah.
And like there's a couple of them that just kind of make me go, oh, come on, man, don't be a dick. But you know, so I think that's just the golden rule in comedy, just like don't be a dick. You know, don't go after people who don't deserve it, and exclusively punch up. You know, I mean, I guess there's like arguments for like, you know, character comedy. You know, like you're playing an awful person and they say and do and think awful things. But I think with that you have to be very careful that like the audience understands that you're being ironic or whatever, and you're not like getting people who are enjoying it on a non-ironic level. And also I think even with that you have to kind of think like, is the benefit of doing this like ironic edgy material, does that outweigh someone potentially being upset by it? And if the answer is like no, then just don't do it, you know.
That's where the kind of great area in art form lies. Like we were chatting about that after you left the car, and I was like, I say, for example, in the podcast, I'm not going to go on record and say like I think this or I think that, because I don't know what I think, and it changes every person I speak to, which has been great about this, because you're speaking to comedians or musicians or artists, and you get different perspectives, and you're meeting like different kinds of backgrounds, everything like that. And I'm not going to go out and say, because it is such a great area, especially with offense and everything like that. And like you're saying, the punch down thing, it can be, you know, there's a huge lack of taste, but it's such like a complex area I think it's mad that some people come out and just hit out with their opinions, and they're so like old on the podcast, and it's like, how can you change it all the time as well?
I think the thing with offence is anyone can be offended by anything. And to go back to the royal family thing, there's a lot of people who had a huge amount of grief with the Queen passed, and potentially they would find your comedy offensive at that point because it's distasteful in their eyes that you're mocking an institution and a woman who passed. I'm a bit ambivalent when it comes to royal family. I probably don't know enough about it to go on record saying anything too categorical, but there is always the other side of it where people could be offended, not necessarily because they're part of it, but because they associate with it very closely.
Yeah, but it's an awful like institution that's complicit in like genocides and stuff. You know, there's like, I can't remember all the details of it, but like pal Ruth knows more about it. Like I remember we had a chat about it a while ago, and she was saying like there are in like living memory like instances where the Queen, you know, supported or did not intervene in like genocides happening, that kind of thing. Like and also like obviously the more recent example of like I remember seeing that interview with Prince Andrew on the telly, where he might as well have been wearing a big sign that said, "I definitely did it."
Yeah.
And just being so angry, like, but nothing's going to happen to him. The worst that's happened to him is like he no longer has to do his very easy job, but is still a millionaire and like completely protected from any consequences of his actions. And the Queen, funded his like legal team and stuff. And I think we were talking about this in the car yesterday as well. Like there is a thing where like the Queen, or like the King now, I guess, like they legally can't be prosecuted for a crime. Like they're exempt from the law. I just think like nobody should be. I don't know what would happen if they tested that. Like I don't know what would happen if the King started doing like lines of cocaine off a corgi in the middle of the Christmas speech, or like if he slit someone's throat like on live telly. I don't know what would happen, but on paper he'd just get away with it, and I think that's
it's the same as
horrifying.
They never step in and use their powers because they know they just get chucked. Same as House of Lords. But do you know? Like, see, just to get back to comedy briefly, when you're saying like offense, and I think it's something we touched on just after you left. So you get a lot of comedians who play a character and they say ignorant things because they're trying to be ignorant. You get it on TV shows, right?
Yeah.
And the problem usually comes because that attracts certain kind of people, and those people take it verbatim or act in a certain way. But it's not the comedian being evil because they're joking and they're trying to make people laugh.
It can be. It depends on a case by case basis.
Yeah,
but like I think like. So I don't know a lot about this, but like my understanding of what kind of happened with Frankie Boyle that might be flawed or incomplete is like when I was a kid, Frankie Boyle like a lot of the time said a lot of stuff that was like completely unacceptable by anyone's like metric, and I think there was kind of a period when I was a kid where there was this notion of like there kind of being a kind of post-political correctness movement of comedy where like it was sort of there was this notion in comedy where like sexism, racism, homophobia are such absurd things. No one would ever possibly believe those things. So if you're saying something that's sexist, racist, or homophobic, you're obviously joking because they're inherently absurd ideas. And I'm sort of surprised that notion survived at all because like sexist, racist, and homophobes were still around and still, saying and doing crazy, terrible things. But I think like kind of earlier Frankie Boyle stuff, his really weird, terrible sketch show, Tramadol Nights, kind of fell into that. The Mighty Bush did a lot of weird rape jokes kind of around about the same time. There were things like Little Britain, which like just looks, by today's standards, just
some things have really not aged well.
Just aggressively appalling. I knew when I was a kid, most school bullies that I encountered like communicated almost exclusively in quotes from Little Britain. Like it was a show that like gave a lot of ammunition to a lot of like real terrible little people. But yeah, I think Frankie Boyle, like specifically, like I think from what I've heard, kind of became uncomfortable, finding out that like people in his audiences just genuinely believed the things he was saying as jokes and kind of made an effort to kind of clean up his act. Yeah. I think that's good. I like that self-reflection and kind of moving on. Like I've got a lot of time for Frankie Boyle, because I'm a fan of his good stuff, and I think that that's a very positive thing to do and talk about doing.
So what I found interesting as well, why did he get away with it? And that, say, for example, Kevin Hart made a joke 10 years ago and then he's removed from the Oscars. You know how you get certain levels of things?
I don't really know enough about that to comment on it. But like, I don't know.
We can cut this out if it goes wrong. I was just genuinely wondering.
I don't know. Like, this isn't a thing that I'm an expert on. But it's an interesting thing to talk about and discuss.
I think the thing with Kevin Hart is he was asked to apologise for a tweet he made 10 years prior to going to being asked to host the Oscars, and someone dug this up and said he said something homophobic about his child acting a certain way. He said he hoped he wasn't gay or something like that.
Right.
Or if I found him playing my doll's house, I'd smash it or something like that.
Something.
Right. Okay.
And he'd apologised to it shortly thereafter, having made the tweet. And then he was asked to apologise for it a decade after the fact because he was going on the Oscars and someone had brought this up. And he had refused to apologise another time because he'd already made the apology.
Yeah, I don't know. I think with something like that, because that's such a full-on thing to say, I think just apologise, man. What's the point in
I think his point was he'd already been through it, made the apology. How often does he have to apologise for a wrongdoing that he's moved on from like in the future.
I guess
every time he gets a new gig and someone says you need to apologise for this, you're beholden to that person.
It's such a full on thing that he said. I don't know. I think on paper, like I think like if you've genuinely changed and see the error of your ways, then there should be kind of a way back for you. You know, I think there's a ceiling on that. I think there's probably people above that. Like I don't think there should be any coming back for like a Louis C.K. or somebody.
Chris Brown.
Because he's just, you wouldn't be able to trust that. You know, you wouldn't be able to trust that. Like
there's certain things that you can't.
And he would still like represent a danger. But if it's like people who like said dumb stuff, said mean stuff in the past, and then feel genuinely bad about it, I think there should be a way back.
There should be a statute on it as well. Like at some point, okay, you're gone past it. It's old news.
Like, I think with the Kevin Hart thing, like I see what you're saying about like, oh, he'd apologized for it already, but I don't know, like it was a very full-on thing to say, and I understand why, you know, like why people would want further reassurance. Like as you know, as a queer person myself, I think that's quite an upsetting thing to hear, and I understand why people would kind of want reassurance that they weren't, you know, that the person going into the Oscars wasn't the same person who said those things in the past. As someone with OCD, I can relate heavily to someone wanting to ask a question over and over again to be sure of something.
It's quite an easy thing to do is apologize as well.
I can kind of see it both ways. But I don't understand. Like, I think if it was me, I would just apologize again because it's easier than kicking up a big fuss about it. And also kicking up a big fuss about it is a little bit sus. Like, I think it kind of rings a bell of like, you know, if he's dying on this hill, is he sincere?
I think with him, he didn't kick up a fuss. He just said, okay, like, I'm out because I don't want to tarnish the Oscars. It's like a lifelong dream of mine, but I don't want to tarnish it with all this drama and shit. Like, I'm out. I've already apologized. I don't mean it. I'm sorry, but I'm out.
Right, okay. Well, I don't know.
But will we just cut all this shit?
No, I think this is a genuinely interesting discussion.
Yeah.
I know we're never going to get to like a bottom where, because no one's right, no one's wrong. You have an opinion on it, but
I think I don't know. Like I think there's definitely people who know more about it than me who would be more interesting to talk about this with. But I reckon what I've said is pretty much all right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I hope that's the same for us.
Yeah.
No one said anything.
I was going to say something cheeky, like who are your favorite current comedians or ones with specials? Like?
Yeah. Basically just my friends. You know, like Fever Dream Comedy Society, regular night I run with Ruth Hunter, Lawrence Tucker, Lane Malcolmson, Freya Bento. They're amazing. Like Ruth Hunter's show she did this year, which I was in as like a horrible little goblin man that she relentlessly
bullies. That in Iceland as well, right?
We were in Iceland. Reykjavik was so good. Did I tell you about Chris Thorburn in Reykjavik?
No, you had a story about Chris.
Oh man, like
this drunk story.
Yeah, so we had a great. We had a great.
Sorry, Chris.
It's a charming story, and he comes off well in it. So Reykjavik was great. A bunch of us went over to the Reykjavik Fringe to do shows. I lived in a house with Ruth Hunter, Chris Thorburn, Dave Callahan, his wife Emily, and Rasheen Kenny. It was great, lovely living with those people, all friendly people, all very funny people. It was a great, excellent time. Last day of the Reykjavik Fringe, we'd been to the awards ceremony, and like Chunks, this is a comedy group that like me and Chris and a bunch of other people are in. We won an award for like best weird show at the Fringe, and Chris specifically won an award for like funniest show at the Fringe. Mm-hmm. So we're celebrating at this thing, and then we have to go to Keflavik Airport at like 3 a.m. to get a plane to go back to Glasgow, and like we're finished at the awards ceremony at like 1 a.m. and have to just get to the airport. And Chris got very, very drunk at the awards ceremony, and needed a lot of help getting through Keflavik Airport. Like he was delightful the whole time. Like he's a very entertaining, pleasant, friendly drunk.
Yeah.
Like he was very apologetic, but he was also doing stuff like before going through the metal detectors, he misunderstood what he was being told to do and thought he was supposed to take everyone's metal through the metal detector. So like instead of putting his metal stuff in the tray, he picked up everyone else's keys and bottles and things and he thought he was like the designated metal boy and tried to go through the detector.
In his life before?
Yes, he has, but like he wasn't in his right mind. And then he tried to like pay for a sandwich with his house keys. And just
this is great. It's obliterated drunk.
Just very constantly apologizing. Rasheen Kenny said to him like, "Oh God, you're being such a silly Billy, Chris." and Chris went, "Yes, I know." And normally I'm such a serious William. It was such a nice moment. He's a joy to be around. He was really fun to live with. I ended up a couple of nights at midnight being really exhausted from a day of running around Reykjavik doing comedy things, and would come home just wanting to go to bed, and Chris would be there with some whiskey and we would talk about films until 4 a.m. It was great. He's just really infectious listening to him talk about all the movies he knows about. And also I saw him apologize to a slice of bread during that fringe. I think in the past,
post whiskey.
Yeah, pre-whiskey, in the morning, he asked me if he could have some of my bread, and I said yes, and then he picked up a slice of bread and went, "Sorry, bread, I actually don't want you," and put it back. And it's one of the most darling things I've ever seen.
Damn, he's going to win that Alexa thing.
Yeah.
Much nicer.
He's probably amazing to his Alexa.
Yeah. Has paid holidays.
Just a very sweet man. And that was a very fun holiday to do.
Yeah, it sounded awesome. It was really cool.
Yeah. That's a really good thing about comedy. It's just all my favorite comedians are my friends. I love Chris Thorburn. I love Richie Brown, Ruth Hunter, Elaine Malcolmson, all Hot Death Theatre. They're all just really, really good people. A really cool thing about comedy has just been my heroes have become my friends.
Yeah, that's cool.
A lot of people I was fans of Richard Brown and Chris Thorburn before I started doing comedy.
Yeah.
And it's really cool that I'm pals with them now.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing. I enjoy it so much.
I found that with chatting to people on the pod, because it's people that I followed or watched their stuff or had been to see or seen a couple of times as well. So it's been really cool.
Yeah, it's great.
Photo time.
Okay, let's look at these.
I'll go first. I went first last time, I'm sure, right?
Did you?
Yeah, because it was only me that had photos and Kate.
Yeah, so that doesn't count. They're loaded up now anyway, so we're screen recording too.
So the range of facial expressions are amazing.
Yes, please.
So for the photo art, we went to the Necropolis in Glasgow. We thought it'd be a kind of nice sunset. It was very harsh light, which made it quite challenging, but it was good fun.
Yeah.
You came in a cool waistcoat and tie, really well dressed. I was shooting on Sony A7 IV with an 85mm lens. So there's a big range of funny expressions. Thank you.
Yeah,
they were good.
I've been experimenting with making my face hilarious. Look at him there.
They went for a kind of dreamy, surreal.
I have a huge crush on myself. It's not a noble thing to admit to.
It's good.
But it's very true. Aww, so look at him.
With these ones, because I know you talk about the kind of the horror things, and I've seen your act with the kind of disturbing pizza box faces and all that. So I added a little bit of grains. It's not my usual style, but I quite enjoyed being able to do that style. So the next one, I hope it's the next one in the order. It was with the glass, but it was kind of
the prism.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I like that. Kind of ethereal.
Yeah.
It's got a little it's got a jaw in the top right corner.
It does kind of, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
Like a bear trap. There. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that a lot. That's the ghost that burst out of the tomb with the crisps in it.
And the photos get worse from here.
Oh, yum, yum, yum. I love that so much.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're sitting on the step right next to the big tower at the top.
I love that. I love what my hair's doing.
Good hair for stuff like this.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. I love my hair. I look like I've lost everything. The stock market has devoured my life.
Forgotten the Bullish Coffee discount code.
Nice plug.
Which is portrait.
Hey, Bullish Coffee. Yum, 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 yum.
This was in the harsh sun, just trying to make it work with the prism.
Yeah, that looks... that looks like a celestial being of pure light is erect just next to my head. It's like the penis of God has revealed itself to me. And I'm looking at it oh, cool. What an unexpected delight.
That may be the best comment I've ever had to the photo.
I love that. That was when I was like looking through the bin.
Yeah.
I love this. This is my the grubby little sewer boy aesthetic that I've been striving for.
Yeah, so you suggested, come to the necropolis. We're there for 2 minutes. Like, can you just look through the bin?
Yeah, get in the bin. Yeah, it's good stuff. I'm a blurry hand.
That's you channeling the guy who reports on attractive school children or
get in the bin. Hope that guy did get in the bin and like, stay there forever. Oh, that's nice.
Some standards.
That's Chris Forburn would say that's one for your nan.
Yeah, that's the front cover for my album of easy listening songs.
Smooth jazz.
Yeah. That's lovely. I like that a lot. Yes. That's
the eyes are so intense there.
Fuck, I love my eyes. I really wish I could like marry me.
I'm sure you can in this day and age.
So in these photos, your eyes look really blue, but then there was a time in the sunlight where they looked dead green. Because I remember like commenting on it, your eyes look like
green, your little gold.
I've got little yellow bits in my eyes. Yeah. Oh yes,
this was a kind of zombie walk.
It's got kind of like bouncer at a speakeasy kind of vibes. Like I'd have a nickname that was like Muggsy, Thumbs, Mr. Thumbs. I look really tall and sinister.
Yeah,
I look like I pick up journalists and throw them into bins from across the street.
I enjoyed this one.
Fuck, I love that so much.
Thanks.
Ooh.
And just a wee arty one, you know,
playing with the hair.
Hey.
But again, harsh sunlight makes it really difficult. So the only thing for it sometimes is black and white and make the shadows do something.
Yeah. Again, I think I look fit in this picture, and I'm happy.
This is the green eyes.
Yeah. Wow, they're really dulled in that. My hair has gotten because my hair kind of looks different in different lights.
Yeah.
Like some people have gone years without noticing that I'm ginger.
Does your hair go more fair in the sun?
I think it does, yeah. It kind of shines, it catches fire. That's me being a little bit blasphemous.
Yeah.
Having a go at doing the Jesus pose. Just because it's a laugh, you know?
Absolutely. That's why Jesus did it.
Yeah, he was just having a big laugh. It was a big prank.
Then the last kind of forlorn one, Stu and Nadia on the bridge, I just snapped a wee...
oh yeah, that was good.
Shot.
I like this graveyard a lot. I told you about my friend who... that's good. That's good. I'm going to use that for things.
Things? Can you be more specific?
No. No, like, yeah, promo shit. I'm going to use that for promo shit.
I will say
that's so good.
Going on that poll was Struan's idea.
Yeah. But yeah, it's got kind of King Kong vibes. And I told you that I know someone who like discovered a new species of spider in the necropolis.
Yeah.
You had quite a lot of good beef factoids as we...
There was I don't know a lot about it, but there's like a guy I know discovered a new species of spider there, and there was a family of deer living there a few years ago who were like a little popular local attraction for a while.
And Glasgow was... What was the derivation of the etymology of Glasgow?
Oh, yeah, Glasgow. The name Glasgow is kind of derived from the Scots Gaelic word for dear green place.
That's right, yes.
I'm not sure if that's true, but it's true that but it's true that I've heard that. Yes.
Yeah. You're reporting.
Yeah.
That's it.
And that's your lot.
I loved those so much. You're such talented men.
Oh, thank you so much.
Well, those are all Dados, so talented man.
Oh, have you got... You're doing some now?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I'm so happy there's more of these. What a tremendous time to be me.
It's downhill from here.
While we wait, zombie noise.
As David rushes to like dumb the levels down.
It's kind of Shaun of the Dead zombie-ish, I think.
This is what I was doing when I came in to the zombie job.
Right.
Okay. And they said, you sound like a sad drunk. It needs to be inhuman. Oh God, I auditioned to be a cannibal at the Edinburgh Dungeon.
Oh yeah,
and I didn't get it because they said I was too nice. They said that like they felt, what was it? This is something like the cannibal speech is supposed to make me feel like I'm being eaten alive by your words, but you made me feel safe and valued. It was like...
That's more sinister, though.
Yeah. Just a lull them into a false sense of security and then Sonny Bean them.
Hello, I'm Sonny Bean. I'll be your cannibal troglodyte for this evening. You can...
Hello, Clarice.
How you doing? You having a good day? Ah, I'm glad you like my blood-covered rock. It's a family heirloom.
There's a Sonny Bean performance at Roselle. Stephen Kerr, like a friend of my cousin. He's an actor. I don't know if you've come across him. He was really good as Sonny Bean.
Really?
Yeah. He did like a wee air show of like local lore.
Yeah.
So it was like Sonny Bean and then some other guy with some ghosts.
Was that Sonny Bean Humane Cuisine? What was the guy's name who did that?
Stephen Kerr.
Oh, I don't think it was him. I saw a really good one called Sonny Bean Humane Cuisine.
Right.
At the Panopticon ages ago. I remember it being really good, but don't remember anything specifically about it.
Okay.
But he was selling these really nice potato cakes with cinnamon at the end of it. I remember food sticks in my memory more than art does. It's really nice, sort of like compacted, sugary potato with cinnamon on it.
Nice.
Fucking class.
Is that a tip for any struggling comedian? Just sell potato with cinnamon after.
I mean, I think that stuff was expensive. I don't know. I mean,
but you bought it though.
Did I?
Or did you thieve it?
I think I was a child at the time, and a friend's mum bought me it.
Okay.
That was a nice day out.
So we start off with a little shadow.
I like the shadow.
And I think we then had you stick your tongue out.
Yeah. Ooh, yes, please.
And so it makes your shadow look a little bit compared to the first one.
Yeah.
It's a nice profile.
Mm-hmm.
It almost just looks like your chin's grown and elongated a little bit.
It does have that, or like I've just got like a big boil, or like a wasp has stung my bottom lip.
So those were not the most traditional portraits, but
no, I like them. I like them a lot. I love how much my tongue is glistening. That looks spooky as fuck.
I like that. I think for me, this is probably my favourite of my set. Just the light was quite nice, and quite a few of mine just play with the kind of dappled shading.
Yeah. Did you ever see Under the Skin, the Scarlett Johansson movie?
Don't think so.
It was kind of like art house Borat, where like Scarlett Johansson went around Glasgow in a van pretending to be an alien. I've not seen it. It's going around Glasgow pretending to be an alien and like luring men into her van. Right. But inside her van, it's like a huge black void, and like the men like sink into this horrible liquid.
Was it real people as well?
It was real people. Yeah, she was like pretending to be this creature that was eating men. It was great. That's me looking into the tomb of the crisp ghost.
Yep, that's you. You were in midair, jumped.
Yeah,
and just see your feet hovering off the ground.
That's good. I like the back of my head.
It's a solid back of the head.
It's got a bit of a Rorschach test kind of quality. Like, I see my parents fighting in front of a butterfly.
We're back into some dappled shading.
That's good. I like that.
It's like a book cover.
It does have book cover vibes.
You need to write a book.
I am writing a book.
Are you?
Yeah.
What's the book?
It's called Brain Feeder. I'm writing 2 books actually. I'm writing Brain Feeder, which is like a collection of like just me going on about stuff like that my pal Rob is like wanting me to do. And also like there's some sci-fi short stories and stuff in it. And then I'm also writing a book called A Sting in the Tail, where I'm exploiting Winnie the Pooh's public domain status. I'm writing like a hard-boiled detective novel where Eeyore is like a grizzled private eye, like trying to solve like a conspiracy that goes all the way to the top.
Where did the honey go?
Pooh is like a horrible like gang leader in it, and it's going to be great.
Nice. What can we run through the characters and what kind of character they are?
I'm trying to think. Piglet and Kanga are both kind of femme fatale kind of characters.
Okay, yeah.
Well, Piglet's kind of femme fatale character that kind of leads Eeyore into a trap, by like acting all helpless, but she's actually a pawn in the conspiracy. And then Kanga's like a friend of his who runs a bar.
Okay.
And her son Roo gets kidnapped by Rabbit, who's like a real dangerous hooligan. And
do they have the same voice? Is it like when you're reading it in your head?
Yeah. I'm imagining. Yeah, they all have that kind of the same voices they have in the Disney movie.
Like Piglet have like a little bit more of a sultry.
Like Piglet stutters, but is also like
a little bit like Miss Piggy.
Piglet stutters, but also exudes raw sexuality.
Okay. What about in your book?
There's and Winnie the Pooh is like this kind of Al Capone kind of character, is running all of the rackets. Christopher Robin is like Eeyore has like broken his hands because like Eeyore caught Christopher Robin like cheating on his wife. Like mainly Eeyore gets hired by like people's wives to catch them.
Like a moral enforcer.
Yeah, like catch them cheating on people.
It's almost like Goodfellas.
And like Christopher Robin was like, "You ruined my life, Eeyore. I'm gonna beat you up and break your car." And he breaks his hands, and like because he's in with Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh's like, "Well, I need a fall guy for this big elaborate conspiracy. I'm gonna frame Eeyore for murder." So he frames him for Owl's murder. Owl's been involved in he's been rigging fights with Tigger. Though I can't explicitly say that it is Tigger because Tigger isn't in public domain. So I have to kind of allude to it being Tigger. It's like excitable orange cat-shaped man. so I'm legally covered.
Okay, right.
Because the estate of A.A. Milne still has their claws in Tigger.
You.
Yeah. Because he's from the sequel, not the original.
All right, okay.
Yeah, so I've got literature on the way.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Nice wee sort of glowy, sunlit, almost like a wee halo at the back of your head.
Yeah, I do look divine.
Should I play on the Gabriel, angel, angelic?
My parents initially wanted to call me Lucifer.
Is that true?
Yeah, and then my very Catholic grandparents said
Gabriel.
Just a massive loud no. And then they went with Gabriel instead, which is a fun 180.
It's a bit of a...
They also wanted to call me Clancy for a little bit as well.
Clancy?
Yeah, I like Gabe. I'm very happy with Gabe.
Gabe's good.
Yeah, that's Jesus up there sticking out of a hole.
Yeah.
Jesus sticking out of a hole going, "Hello, it's me."
Then just observing your city.
Yeah, I love Glasgow.
Kind of a few flyaway hairs.
I really love Glasgow. As me fixing my tie like a fucking champion. Yeah, God, I'd love my versatile face. I can do so much. I can be a hot-faced man. I can be a hot-faced man doing a little weird smirk.
We could have you modelling ties for some company somewhere.
I'd love that. I do a bit of modelling.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've done some slime fetishist modelling, and I've done some. The main place I get my money from is I do like nude modelling for life drawing classes,
right?
Organised specifically for hen parties and stag parties, which is less stressful than it sounds.
What would make it stressful?
People being drunk and smashing stuff. Yeah. Sometimes it's that there's like different types of hen parties and stag parties. It's like there's ones where like everyone has a nice fun time doing art and looking at a naked person in a hotel conference room. There's ones where like one person organised it and everyone else isn't into it. And that one person is like very apologetic and sad and crying while everyone else just goes, "This is rubbish, we just want to drink somewhere."
Yeah.
And then there's ones where like everyone is drunk and smashing stuff and making creepy comments, and one sober person is repeatedly going, "I'm so sorry, they're not normally like this. They're all professors of ethics, they're normally very friendly and approachable."
Professors of ethics.
But yeah, it's an alright job. But yeah, I like modelling, it's a good time.
Just another kind of portrait style. No daft faces, just
I like the sky in that
line.
one. I like the blueness of the sky. It's a very calming shade of blue.
There's a slightly more manic bit of laughter here.
That's the noise I'm making in that picture. I love my teeth in that one. I've got really weird mutant teeth. I've still got baby teeth. Right, 27, because like the adult teeth don't exist to kick them out. Yeah, so I've got a couple of baby teeth still. They're just going to have to do me for the duration.
Until Jesus says this is finished.
I like the idea that Jesus would come in person to tell me that it was time for me to die. I hope I'm on his radar in that way. Look at him. Look at that great boy.
Does anyone notice anything here? It's front of your curveball.
What's the curveball? That my hands are out of the shot?
Yeah, well, I was too tight a lens to get hands in, which is unfortunate. But if I flick back to that one, flick to this one, what's the difference?
Does the tie look like it's a different colour?
Something far more obvious than that.
Go back. The shirt.
Does the shirt look like the shirt is like it's gone from pink to green?
Yeah. I just wanted to toss that and see if anyone would pick up on it straight away. Be like, why is my shirt different?
Did you do that, or is that a weird quirk of the camera?
No, I just did that post.
Right, yeah.
He's got a habit of this. I was hiking with my camera and you made it pink. And you also gave me a full beard just to be really patronising.
That was before you went.
There you go, Daryl. Here's what you had actual normal facial hair.
That was before you went to the beard.
Yeah, I was clean shaven at that time. Yeah.
Oh man.
So I just I wanted to throw it because I've seen I was watching an episode of Top Gear a while back and they totally changed the interior of the car from one shot to the next, and you wouldn't have noticed until they pointed out afterwards for the continuity. So.
Oh boy.
Sorry, I just wanted to.
That's all right. Yeah, thank you. I look good.
It's a sort of commanding kind of presence there. I'm not sure though if we were asking you to do the little teapot stand.
Yeah.
That was a weird request.
Hand in the hip.
Do you know the little teapot?
Yeah, God.
I guess because of the hand in the hip like that, I was like, well, the spout could just come up.
It's very like Paul McDaniel with a hand there as well.
And then
I'm very jealous of everyone who's ever slept with me.
That's cool. That's cool.
And then just this, we asked you to look at stand in the bridge and look pensive, and I think you did that very well.
Yeah.
Even the hands are nice, like well.
It was very but that's the modelling background. That's the modelling background.
That is such a good picture. I love my chin.
And that's my collection.
Yeah, great. Hey, lads, you did a great job.
You're a great model.
I love seeing good boys doing a great job with my face.
You sound like your headmaster.
That was more disconcerting than I meant it to sound in my head.
That's the friendly
cannibal said as well.
It's a... Oh, okay. Fuck.
No better way to end it than
sorry.
That. But yeah, thank you so much for coming down. Highly enjoyed that. It was a good laugh. And we'll send the link to the photos. You can use them whenever.
Absolutely.
Thanks very much. This was great.
Cool. Yeah, highly enjoyed it.
It's a good time.
Brilliant.
We clap.
Hey.
Over now.
Hooray!